Well, welcome to our latest Star Sports Greyhound Derby Zoom room following the first round at Toaster at the weekend. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Martin Chapman, Lofty, my Richard, if you like, and Ian Fortune is also here, not so pleasing because I think he thinks he had a very good weekend. But we're going to argue why the English are in there with great chances as well, hopefully. I'm going to start with you, Lofty, because you have changed the betting for an English-Irish winner. You've made it 4-1 on now for an Irish winner, and 11-4 for an English winner. You know I've got my money on the English winner, so I'm right behind it. I think 11-4 is a good price.
Yeah, I think yet again the draw wasn't overly tough on the Irish dogs in the second round draw yesterday. You know, I try my best, but I've got to be impartial. You know, the draw's all fair and above board, and it's yeah, and I think the Irish dogs have again, you know, fared very very well on the draw. There's a couple of tougher heats than you'd have thought, but you know, none of the big dogs really look like they're in any sort of danger of going through, and you know, there's quite a few 1, 2, 3s and 1, 2 for the Irish last week, and I think numerically they've now got first I think it was 33 of the 96 dogs remaining, 95 now because Ropewater Boys were drawn this morning from the Nathan Hunt Kennel. So you know, they've now got a third of the dogs anyway, where the percentage wise was certainly in the UK's advantage before. It's less so now, so I've had to go for on more evasive action. I'm just trying to lay these GB dogs. I know some people have backed it. You have yourself. You were like me flying the little St George's Cross area, or even the Cross of Saltire, because Rab's got a couple of nice runners now. Your good old friend Rab, he loves you now, Rab.
He's behind the English, well and truly. I can tell you that.
Don't call him English, so he might upset him. But
no, yeah, he's behind the English dogs.
You know, a couple of the English dogs did they half impressed. He won the heats. I mean, Highlight Arkle could do no more than win. To be honest, he showed that lovely turn of early foot. We know he's got you know, he's that plenty of speed. He's got to halfway. But to be fair, the Bingo dog, I mean, went off the track at the corner and could be going by now still. He wouldn't have gone past him. Of the others, I mean, Queen Beyonce, you know, I think most people wrote her off not so long ago, but she's come back. She badly wanted to run, obviously, on that maiden derby night when she ran there, but tremendous run from early other night, and you know, she clocked a decent time as well. So brought more out. Thorn Falcon did no more than what he had to do really from off the back. One of the few dogs to win from behind actually on the Friday and Saturday nights. Obviously, that the Thursday was the going was very very soft and dogs were coming off the back, but Friday and Saturday you had to be sort of quite handy and off the front. And although Thorn Falcon only picked up a couple of sprinters, really, he did it well. You know, I think he'll be there and thereabouts and boxing all the way through. So yeah, we've still got a few chances ahead of the market. Obviously, Roxham Shake, he just got picked up by the Ballymac dog, but you know, strong running type caught him there. But yeah, I mean, still, although a few of them got turned over, it would be unfortunately advantage to our friends from across this George's channel there at the moment.
Well, I do think we put in a few good performances, and in fact it was Susan Hennessy that said to me a couple of times over the weekend she really liked Thorn Falcon, and I thought he was one of the most impressive. I mean, he's never put a paw wrong. He's always done what he has to do. He shows great balance around Toaster. I really am a big fan of that dog. Ian, who impressed you most of the Irish?
Funnily enough, it was you mentioning Susan Hennessy there. I thought Price's Jet was brilliant. I thought, you know, any other greyhound in the Derby was beaten where he was, the trouble he got. He was a dog that I wasn't really rating in our team. I've always rated him as a fast greyhound, but just as a competition dog that's going to win an English Derby, I couldn't have it. But I thought he ran an unbelievable race the other night. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still a number of Irish dogs that'll be backing ahead of him, but I just thought his performance was brilliant because everything was put up against him. He was in all sorts of traffic, had to come from off the back, had to weave through dogs. I just thought he did it very well. I thought there was a number of supreme performances. Obviously, Native Maestro was very good. Toolmaker Sydney, very good. Toolmaker Sydney was left field for me. I wouldn't back him to lead in any race. And this is the first time I've ever seen him lead. I've always put him down as a dog that doesn't quite start well enough and doesn't stay well enough. And by not staying well enough, I mean, he certainly gets the trip, but he's never going to pass dogs from the last bend home. The other night he didn't have to because he left Knocknable Sid in his wake. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd still be having Knocknable Sid ahead of him every day of the week, but it was just one of those performances where you go, well, maybe this dog has just found something, he's matured a bit. A number of very impressive Irish displays, a number of very impressive English displays, but in all truth, this opening round it's shadow boxing. It only really starts now this week and next week. I thought it was going to be the round of 48 when it really started, but there's a few draws now on you know, Friday and Saturday night where you're going, wow, that's a hell of a contest. Any slip-ups and, you know, there's dogs in trouble, and there will be unlike the opening round, there'll be 2 or 3 really big names that might just find themselves in trouble this week.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to lose some big names. Who are you fearing most of the English now? Did anything surprise you?
Not surprised me per se, but I thought Bocco's belly looked more like the dog he looked in his debut in England than the dog he's been since. I was impressed by him. Obviously, it was a heat that was suited to him. He was taking on an Irish dog that had only had one race, and we didn't know his even style of running. He was away and gone in his only race. He popped out the other night, but Bocco's belly destroyed him at the bend and went about it to win handily. He impressed me. Highlight Arkle obviously has great early speed, and if he keeps trapping like that, he'll be a player. After that, obviously 1 or 2 of your big ones, like Warzone Ton was blessed, I thought, to stay in the competition. If you look at the third bend, he has amazing wink on his tail and he's in third. And all of a sudden you're going, I don't know if he can hold this dog. And he ends up holding him by a head or whatever. 10 pin completely missed the kick, so you can't judge him on the display. Thorn Falcon obviously did run very well. I learned from that victory, though, I think he will need to be going up faster. I don't think he'll be coming from behind the strong running greyhounds. He is going to find himself in bother unless he finds his trapping boots, because he was picking up sprinters the other night. In a race where 2 or 3 maybe of the stronger types were up against him, he might have just found himself in a spot of bother. But as I've said, it's all shadow boxing. There's still 4 or 5, 6, 7 displays that will come out of dogs that were beaten in the opening round that will go, well, that's what was missing last week. Like Knocknabull Sid, for instance, he could pop out the next night and do a 29-10. Or something like a 10 pin. Now, trap 1 has been an issue for a number of dogs, but I'm sure if you gave the Mullins clan the opportunity of giving 10 pin any box he wanted, it would be trap 1, even though he missed the kick last week. The one dog that really did handle the box was Native Maestro, and by all accounts, I think he deserves to be Derby favourite at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he looks so comfortable out of trap 1, and I do have that element of doubt for other dogs, including 10 pin, and he gets trap 1 again in the next round. DJ at Sydney we haven't mentioned, but I thought he ran a great race, showed good track craft, lofty, and definitely a danger.
He did, yeah. I mean, and he actually went quite straight from trap 2 by DJ at Sydney. To be fair, the Coney dog was on his lap virtually after they'd gone like 2 yards. So obviously I think he was forced to stay fairly straight from trap 2. Interesting to see what he does on Saturday night. He's got 10 pin inside of him. I would say he's just said loves trap 1, and he'll definitely go up in a straight line. So yeah, he ran well. He got a stroke of luck at the corner. You thought he was in trouble at the corner, Sydney, and suddenly bit of problems with dogs moving off and then moving in and out the second bend. He appeared in front, and he's a strong enough dog on the bunny now. Once he get the front, he was he took some pegging back, but he rode his luck. A few dogs rode their luck there. A couple of the Irish dogs were a little bit. I mean, we've not really mentioned New in Session, who ran a bizarre race. I thought, really. I mean, he's seen him lose his way a bit down the back. I thought he'd lost his action. Thought he'd gone lame for a few strides down the back, and then you saw the instant when he watched into the pickup, when he actually got his hind legs caught over the inside running rail, so he tried to jump the inside rail, and he looked lame for a couple of strides after. You watch the replay back, and he's certainly very scratchy going to the pickup. So I mean, he'd certainly want to keep an eye on when he runs out again in the second round. I'm sure Nicky and Graham and everything checked over and everything would be okay with him. But yeah, it was a bizarre run from him. But Native Maestro, look, we've made him favourite now. He was backed again at 10-1. He looks, as people have said a long way down the line, he looks the perfect dog for Toaster. Of all the Irish dogs, when it was going to be run round Toaster, everyone popped up. Native Maestro be the perfect dog. And although only a first round, I saw nothing to argue against that fact the other night. And I think now what they've shown of the early bits, the Irish dogs, he's definitely the worthy favourite.
Ballymac Ariel, I wanted to touch on, because Ian, I know you're a massive fan, but I don't know if you saw her walking off the track the other night, Lofty, but she was very, very tired. And Liam Dowling did say afterwards that she came out of it very tired. I mean, she didn't want to walk off. I thought he was going to have to carry her at one point. She looked very tired. Do we think she'll come on for that, or do we think she has got a relatively easy heat in Heat 3 on Friday?
She's got a lovely draw, I think, in the heat, and she on Friday. The 4 will definitely go across, and she's got a solo on the outside, chasing Turkey, drawn outside her, staying in a pretty straight line from track 6. Yeah, I mean, he would know more about her than me, obviously. I mean, she looked quite. She got to through to the Kirby. She went deep in the curb, but didn't look the same dog there. Only seen her 2 trials back since then. I mean, whether she's a hard bitch to keep right, she disappeared off the radar for a long time, didn't she? And then appeared back at Toast with a couple of decent trials, but. She's a big girl too, isn't she? Maybe takes a bit of getting fit, the dog, I mean, she could be one of those dogs. And but but the pace is there under the bonnet. We know that, and we saw that even the other night. So we'll still be wary of her, definitely. I mean, certainly in the top pitch market. There was a few good runs there from the ladies. I mean, Unlock, who we've not mentioned. I mean, an astonishing run from her. You know, she had a litter of pups 10 weeks ago, and where she came from, in her heat, she did an awful lot of running late in the day, and that was some tremendous run from her. So, and a few of the other ladies ran well. Obviously, you mentioned Queen Beyonce, Lights Out, who's we know her quirks, but I mean, she come from another planet to get up and finish second. So there's a few there in pitching as well in that market. That'll be quite interesting. I think a few of the ladies might go quite a long way in this year's Derby too.
And the last of the Irish ones I really wanted to flag up here and that impressed me at the weekend was Peter Cronin's All About Ted. I thought he ran a massive race, albeit finished second in the end, but obviously that's a dog just heading one direction.
Yeah, he's very lightly raced, even considering his age. He sort of splashed on the scene at the back end of last year, the Winter Racing Festival, ran a massive racing defeat behind a dog called Feudal Spirit. He's been lightly raced this term. He was brought back out for the Kirby, won his opening round. He went out in the second round. So he's again, obviously his trials in recent times have been very quick, really slick, looks like a dog that'll go up fast. But yeah, a good run in the opening round. I just wonder how much more improvement is in him, and whether he can put his best foot forward every night. That's going to be the key. I thought Peter Cronin had a very impressive opening round. There was 3 or 4 of the dogs he was bringing over I thought had no chance, and every single one of his dogs ran with credit. And yeah, it just goes to show when Peter brings them over for the English Derby, he tends to know what's in his, what ammunition he has, and by all accounts, he thought more of them than we did, but he's there still with I think he might have 3-4 dogs left in the next round. So yeah, just don't be surprised if something like All About Ted does improve further. The Angry Dad dog was obviously a very impressive winner of his heat. The Luminous dog can only improve. He was beaten into the third behind Bucco's belly, but he did lose ground on the opening corner after a fast start, got a little bit lost into the actual opening bend, but yeah, showed plenty of promise. He's only had 2 starts, so he can only improve. Just going back on 1 or 2 of the ones you mentioned, Ballymac Ariel, obviously Liam Dowling is an absolute expert. He'll give her every chance to recover and to be the best she can be. We went back on the Ballymac Ariel trail purely because of the trials. Everything would have insisted that she is probably back to her best, but there's no question, she will need to improve her opening round defeat. That said, Glengar Bell was almost a forgotten dog prior to the Derby. The only man that hadn't really forgotten about him was Pat Buckley. He was insistent that this dog was good enough to win a Derby, and very impressive display from him. And again, he's so lightly raced in the last 6 or 8 months that he can only improve for that first round run. By all accounts, the Irish runners in the opening round, it was 3 or 4 of the more high profile runners that were a little disappointing, whereas the remainder of the team all impressed. And Lofty said 33. I think we've 29 left, 29 of 96. So, yeah, we're not quite a third, but we're close enough to it. I'd be hoping that it'd be over 20 will get through to the next round. And then all of a sudden we're nearly half and half. And then we can start talking and gloating and whatnot. But for the moment, this Derby is still wide open. And yeah, as I said, there's 1 or 2 of the English dogs there that some surprised me, some disappointed me, but there's still better to come from 1 or 2 of them as well.
Absolutely. And the track ran very differently on Thursday to Friday and Saturday as well. Let's talk about a couple of the heats. Just a few I want to flag up, starting with Heat 1, where we've got a clash between Ballymac Kingdom and Glengar Bale. So Lofty given every chance of trying to get one of the big Irish dogs out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good heat, that. I mean, obviously, Ballymac Kingdom probably, I don't know which one be it, so one the ideal draw for it there. Jaguar Macy, of course. I mean, again, she was a dog who everyone thought was against her the other night. She was in track 1, the perceived don't want to be drawn in track 1 dog round Toaster, and also a bitch who didn't appear to run the track that well when she ran in the juvenile. She was very, very impressive as well. I mean, there's nothing of her. But she scooted round and was highly impressive. Sign Ace, who looked the penalty pick of the first round, really. And I think it was back from like 2s on to like 6 on. It was just, that's obviously as far as he wants to go. But there's plenty of early pace in that race, and Glengar Bell, his work cut out maybe there for to get a clear run, because whatever he does with Sign Ace dog, it will certainly go up to the corner, and it'll be an obstacle there at the bend. All's there on the outside. I mean, he'll keep himself to himself again. A dog, I think, who's got plenty of form over the 600 plus around Shelbourne, but as we found the other night, unless the going is really, really deep, it's a hard track to come from behind, I think, round Toaster, but they'll probably have to go in. I thought a little bit maybe on the faster side again. I mean, we walked out, didn't we, did some filming on like Thursday night before, and we were going in, you know, a good sort of, as Arsenal was going in a good 5 inches. I mean, to be for half an hour, but you know, it was proper soft in that stand there. And you could see the way the dogs and the times reflected that. You know, Derby it's being 1 in 30 dead. It was nobody would have seen that when people were looking for sort of 28, you know, 28.90 dogs going around in. So straight away you knew where the track was going to be. They obviously got it slightly quicker on the Friday and Saturday, but yeah, you know, if they have it deep again and get plenty of water on it, it's going to be some tough and some tired dogs there, especially the ones I thought that ran last Thursday. You know, they're going to be tired dogs, so they have got a week to recover.
I only sunk in 2 inches, Lofty. You might have gone in 5, but I was just 2. Heat 4 we're going to have a look at as well. We've got 3 English, 3 Irish. Native Maestro in track 1. I just can't see past him at the moment. He absolutely loves the track, loves the box. What do you think of Heat 4, Ian?
Yeah, obviously he's very well housed, especially if he traps on terms. He has what 9 spots in hand on Betty's book in trap 2 in the opening sectional, so you'd expect him to lead up the inside there. Kameko, I think the middle seating is probably the right call. Trap 4 should suit him. Jim Star elusive. He never really played a part in the opening round, and Perry's Blue-Eyed Boy, while running okay in the opening round, will need to improve considerably. Betty's book obviously can run. Ballymac Fairone is an interesting runner. There was some shrewd money for him. He looked like he had every chance to get Kameko. He didn't go through on the inside. It was probably inexperience and just lack of knowledge of the track. He'll certainly come on for the run, but if Native Maestro hits the lids, he's going to be very hard to stop, and I can't see a real danger to him, bar himself. You know, Barry makes a mistake, I think Native Maestro will come home in front. Just want to touch on that opening heat that we looked at there. That's red hot. Like that would be fitting of a Derby semi-final in itself. And any one of the Irish or the English in it, they miss the kick, they're in trouble. Like Signed Ace may well lead to the corner, but if Glengar Bale is on his tail, Glengar Bale will certainly keep going. And if he gets past Signed Ace into that third bend, well, then all of a sudden Signed Ace is looking behind him, because there are 2 or 3 strong running types in that one.
We've got 3 Irish runners in Heat 7 as well. Gaytime, Milo, The Machine and Angry Dad. Who impressed you? Who do you think will qualify from that heat?
Yeah. Well, Gaytime Milo ran very well to win, and Angry Dad was certainly one of the revelations of the opening round. 29.31 in August 19. Well, he just did everything correctly. Adele's Duke ran a blinder for Lee Field. You know, has to be given a mention. Lee Field had an unbelievable opening round. I've been so impressed with Lee every time I've seen his dogs, listen to him talk. He just seems to get it.
The double in the second round, by the way.
Well, fair play to him. He's entitled to the way his dogs are running. Debbie Calvert's dog on the outside, Jamira Sprite, he's coming back to himself. He was a dog with plenty of good Irish form, and then really impressed in his first few races in Ireland. That was a good run the other night, you know, containing Bandicoot Sammy as easily as he did. But it's a cracking contest. The Machine is capable of going much faster than the opening round. But just interesting to see if he comes on for that run again. He did get a little bit lost around the opening 2 bends, stayed on strongly, but he can stay on even better. It'll be very hard to keep him out of the frame. The battle for the other 2 places could be really hot. That's another very hot contest.
It is. Long journeys, though, for the likes of The Machine. And, you know, in this hot weather, that would be a slight concern for me. But let's move on to Heat 12. We've got to mention Lentz and Bocco. That was one of the performances of the round for me, the way that he's come back from, you know, retirement, off his bed. And I thought he was fantastic. And he goes up against Priceless Jet, Lofty.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Roxanne Shake's got his draw again on the inside. I think another dog who'll probably be suited by trap 1, even though, say, trap 1's not the perceived dog for the trappers. Mingus Popeye, dog again, on the other side of the water, had plenty of speed to the corner in Ireland, and certainly showed that line up in the northern flat, whatever it was, up at Newcastle, and so pace in the corner there. So there's speed going up. Will Lentz and Bocco will come on again? You know, he's had that run and come back after being retired and having the trial back after his little spell at stud and whatever. You know, I mean, they've got to go on again from now. I mean, Priceless Jet's going to be a very, very hard one to keep out the frame, whatever happens. I mean, everything's wrong the other day, as we alluded to earlier on. Stayed on strongly. Again, it was on the Thursday night, but the only time really dogs coming off the back. I think only looking at the videos again, I think only 3 or 4 dogs actually come from off the pace on the Friday and Saturday night. But I think quite a few of them did it on the Thursday when the game was a lot deeper. So again, remains to be seen if it's a fast track, if he can do the same thing again. But it's going to be a hard dog to keep out of the frame, as you say. But no, Lentz and Bocco was certainly very impressive against the guy. And the dog with, like, you know, despite his age, being, you know, nudging the veteran status now, like I am, he's just, very, very few miles on the clock still.
Heat 15 as well. We've got the reigning champ, DJ Sydney, outside of 10-pin, who gets trap 1 again. There is still a bit of a question mark in my mind about that, and all about Ted in there as well. So Heat 15 is pretty special, Ian.
It is. If I was fearing it for one dog, it would be 10-pin, because Dearjet Sydney, you know, he's a lump of a dog. I know 10-pin is bigger. He's actually nearly 5 kilos bigger. But the one thing about Dearjet Sydney is he takes a bump. Now, as Lofty said, if 10-pin breaks on level terms, Dearjet won't jump in on top of him. He'll wait. That's what we noticed through last year's derby in Nottingham, that the nights that he was out in form, we were expecting him to kill the dogs in 3. When they broke level, he waited for his moment and then cut across. He does tend to trap better from 2, 3, and 4, Dearjet Sydney. I know he was in 2 last week and didn't get the start, but I think it's very rare, if you look back in his career, where he's missed the kick 2 nights in a row. And if he does hit the lids and dive inwards, all of a sudden 10-pin could possibly been a spot of bother, because you know Great Eastern's going to go up strongly. All About Ted is going to go up strongly. You know, Troy's Firebird, perhaps not the star he once was, and Bubbly Jubbly will probably need to improve considerably on his best form, but just there's not an awful lot of room for error there with 10-pin. I'd fancy Dearjet Sydney to get it back to, or to add to, his winning ways. It looked like he was in trouble the last night, and you know, Lofty said it. He showed great track craft and experience. You know, and when a race opens up like that, you still have to have the drive and the determination and the pace to do it. And the gap opened, and within a matter of strides, he was 4 clear. And I love that about a greyhound. He's a dog that just knows when the opportunity is there, and by all accounts, he'll pop out of boxes. Great Eastern won't bother him early. He will, in a sense, where he'll be going up fast. But we know one thing about him: he's going to take a step right, if anything. He won't bother those on his inside, especially if Dearjet Sydney comes away racing.
So, in a word, the nationality of the dog you think will win, Ian?
I think Dearjet Sydney will win. I'm not going to name a nationality. I think Dearjet Sydney will win. Yeah.
Wow. What, the whole competition, the derby?
No, the Heat. I think he'd be very close to the derby.
I mean, the derby.
Oh, the derby. Oh, listen, at this stage, we might not be on target for 6 finalists, but the last time I was in the Zoom room, I think I predicted 5. That'll do me, you know.
No, it's not happening, Lofty, is it?
I must admit, my book's leaning towards 4 or 5 now. I think after being on the show the other night and saying about the big 0, I think I've made that 100 now, and I'm still maybe a naught short there. I mean, like, you know, it's simply the case of. Well, they're saying that I did put up something like, I think, 66 to 1 about the slowest time being 29.10 or above. So if it's true what they say, they're going to have the track running fairly slow. Maybe Maestro did exactly that, 29.10 the other night. So that would have been a 66 to 1 winner. But I think there's more chance of that happening than a big fat 0 Irish one. Let's put it that way.
Is that the one market that has altered the most, Lofty, the winning times in the derby? Or?
Yeah, well, that and the tippers market, I'm going to put up again later on this afternoon. I'll finish doing this. But I mean, I can't make you favourite any longer, Ian, despite the fact you were well supported by certain good judges.
They're bad judges by going for me, because I can promise you, I'm that busy. I don't have a chance to do the study.
Put it this way: the same judge who bet you also bet Josh Seed, who's now stretching clear into the further distance. And unless Evan Bembo pops up with some 50 to 1 that, dare say, he might well do. It could be home full of money, as Jim McGrath said already.
Yeah, I think Paul Bird did a few people a favour the other night as well. He's one to mention. His dogs were absolutely flying as well. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. I'm still going to stick with my 2 or 3 Irish derby Irish finalists in the derby, I should say. And we will see where we're at in a couple of weeks or a few weeks, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your company.
Thanks, guys.